I'm Lerner, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about working for free. Why would you ever want to work for free? Well, 90% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, you wouldn't want to work for free. But there are those occasions when working for free or justifiably for free can work. Okay, now, a lot of you guys might be starting your photo careers. A lot of you folks might be hobbyists that have been presented with opportunities and or have been thinking about taking your photography to another level. So one of the reasons why you might want to work for free is build a portfolio. How are you going to position yourself as a professional working photographer if you don't have any work to show for yourself or for your brand or for what you do? Oftentimes working for free and or building your portfolio is a really great way to get work, to get jobs. In doing so, you might be able to make connections with people that will ultimately maybe pay it forward. Maybe they'll offer you work in the future because they said, you know what, that guy, that gal was really nice. They did my photo for free. They did my Facebook photo, my Twitter photo. Maybe they did a headshot for me. Maybe they shot a party, whatever it is. They're building a business. I'm going to take a chance on them. They did nice work for me. Sometimes those things pay off. Sometimes you want to do work for free for creative growth. And what do I mean by creative growth? Well, oftentimes when you're doing work, you want the ability to challenge yourself. You want to be putting yourself in a position where you want to grow as a photographer and as an artist. And by doing so, you end up getting a greater palette of tools. I guess like more tricks in your bag of tricks, let's say. And sometimes those kind of jobs will come about because you will take them on your own time, on your own dime, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Now, oftentimes you're also going to want to do jobs for social media purposes. A lot of you guys that are starting out, you might just have a Facebook page. You might have a Twitter feed. You might have a LinkedIn setup or whatever. But maybe there's nothing cohesive about that. So building your portfolio, building your work, and getting your work organized, orchestrated, and cohesive is a good way to position yourself as a professional photographer or a photographer, even semi-professional, that would be considered for work. Sometimes you might even want to barter. And what do I mean by that? Well, maybe you might be thinking about doing a website, but maybe you don't have the website skills. Maybe you don't have the time to do a website. But maybe a friend of yours or a company you know that builds websites really desperately needs headshots. There's a perfect opportunity for you to barter. You do their corporate headshots, they build you a website. There's all kinds of opportunities that are out there. I know that as a photographer, I barter with clients. I barter with one of the menswear clients that I do a lot of work with. It works for me. And when you barter, make sure you're getting an equilateral deal. So what that means is that, let's say, you're giving somebody kind of a special price on their photography. Make sure you're getting the special price in bartering, that they're not treating you in a full retail aspect. Or let me just rephrase it like this. At the end of the day, make sure that you and whomever you've engaged in that project with, whatever the terms are, that neither of you feel like you owe each other something at the end of the project. Because that's going to ultimately lead to you resenting the other party or the other party resenting you. And probably not going to be a fruitful relationship that you want, that will carry on and turn into other work. Because you have to look at it like this. Anytime you engage in an opportunity to work with somebody, whether it's paid or not, it's building toward potentially more work. Whether it's with them, whether it's with their friends, whether it's with business associates. So it's always a reflection back on you and your work ethic. So those are all really important things to think about. Okay, so now that we've thought about a bunch of different reasons why you'd want to work for free, why wouldn't you want to work for free? Well, how many times have you said or heard from somebody who says, oh, if you do these photos for us, you'll be getting on the ground floor of this great new company. Yeah, I'm going to call that as a bunch of BS. if these guys can afford to pay everybody else that's being brought in to get this business started, they are also going to need to be able to pay the photographer. It always drives me crazy when you see these people and they're willing to pay for the space, they're willing to pay for their web designer, they're willing to pay for their materials, they're willing to pay themselves, but they won't pay for the photographer because they feel like, hey, you know, you've got a camera, why don't you hook me up, do me a favor with some photographs, you'll be getting on the ground floor of this great opportunity, and then when we have money, we'll pay you. No, 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 no. Show me the money. You want to get paid up front. That's really, you know, basically if they're setting the precedent that they don't value your work, they're going to always think of it that way. They're never going to treat you or pay you what you're worth. Another thing that I hear all the time is, oh yeah, you know, if you can do this job for us, you know, maybe if you discount it right now, we'll take care of you the next time. Doesn't work like that either. That's just them trying to nickel and dime and get the most they can out of you by spending the least amount of money. That stuff drives me crazy. I had a client that did that kind of stuff to me a while ago where they said, oh yeah, I need you to do this big event 2 days out of town. Huge job, huge production. 24 people or so are on this crew. They're paying hotels, they're paying travel, they're paying stylists, they're paying, you know, they flew in an entire video crew from California and they didn't want to pay for photography because they said, oh, we've got 10 events coming up, you know, throughout the year and we'll take care of you then. I don't think so. I told them what I needed and that was it. And there was no compromise on that because I'm not going to be betting on blue sky. Now, if they presented me with a contract where there were 10 jobs on there and they said, okay, here's a 10 job contract, you know, let's price this accordingly. Heck yeah, of course I want to do that. That's money in the bank. But I'm not going to be betting on blue sky because if they're going to set a precedent right off the bat by paying as little as they can, that's what they're going to want to do all the time going forward. Okay, favor. This is always the funniest thing to me. You know, perfect example, you know, my wife's company, they needed to have photographs taken of product, okay, because the person that does it, you know, wears 25 different hats, not a photographer, doesn't put any time into it, doesn't really take good photographs. So they said, oh, your husband's a photographer, why doesn't he come in and do it? Why doesn't he come in and just do it as a favor? I mean, think about that. I'm going to go in there, take a day off when I should be working and getting paid to do a favor for them when they should be paying somebody to do it. It does not work that way. Granted, of course, you're going to always want to do favors for your loved ones, for your family and things like that. But when it comes to business, business is business, okay? So you want to make sure that you find out what kind of a budget your client has and is able to work with. You want to get the money stuff in writing. Even if you have a relationship with these people and you feel like it's uncomfortable, get the money stuff taken care of right away. Get it out of the way, all right? You know, look, there's a lot of karma in this kind of business, okay? But you don't have to feel like you have to give everything away. You know, there's always that good adage there where if you give a little, you get a lot. I'm a firm believer in that. But you don't have to give it all away to get what you're looking for. And as a photographer, you're worth something. And, you know, as Zach Arias has even said, and I also believe, you know, when you're first starting out, there's nothing wrong with doing the $50 gig, you know? You're getting paid. And then that $50 kind of work leads to $200 work. And then your rate all of a sudden goes up to $400 or $500. Next thing you know, you're a $1,000 day rate photographer. And it just continues to go from there. So you have to start somewhere, but your photography, your time is worth something. And it's not just the time that you spend on site, it's the time that you're going to take editing and digitally processing all of those images and delivering them. You know, oftentimes you spend maybe four hours or so on site. You might spend that much or more time editing those images. Your time is valuable. You don't have to sit there and like make a plea for your case, but I do feel that it's important to get this stuff in writing discussed and out of the way before you embark on the job, because once you've done the work, it's really hard to go back and negotiate. You can't go back to somebody and say, oh, you know, we took a lot more photos than I thought, or I put a lot more time to editing these than I had originally planned. It doesn't fly that way, you know. I mean, granted, in the beginning, you might not be as good at coming up with a bid for a job as you become over time, but don't be afraid to come up with a bid of some sort to protect yourself. So that's really it. Do I work for free? Well, most of the time, no. But there are certain occasions. If you have an opportunity to have a high level of creative control or creative growth, that's a good reason right there. If you're going to be able to build your portfolio, because think about it, all that work that you do is going to get you more work. So if a client says, you know what, all the photographs that you're taking, we can't have you share any of these. We don't want them online. We don't want them in your portfolio. They're taking money out of your pocket. So that's a huge consideration when you're taking a job. Another consideration is money. If they're just going to pay you, then that's great. If they're not going to pay you, if they're not going to let you put these in your portfolio, and you really don't have a lot of creative input on the job, it doesn't sound like a great opportunity. But if one or all three of those are being met, then it's definitely worth considering. So, you know, look after yourself and look after your brand. And speaking of that, I'm just going to reiterate again, if you don't have a portfolio and you want to be taken seriously as a photographer, you have to build yourself a portfolio. You can start small. There's a lot of really inexpensive sites out there. You can do a WordPress, you can do other people's pixels, you can do a 500 pics portfolio site. Just sending people to a Flickr page doesn't really cut it. You know, I think that to be taken seriously, you need to bump it up to the next level. If you're not really good at it, maybe you can barter for the web services, or try to find a web tool like a WordPress or something like that, where it's modular based and you don't need to know every last thing about how to be a web programmer. But get your materials together. Have a nice business card. Have your business card be legible. Have plenty of them with you and on you at all times, so you're not sitting there missing opportunities because you think, oh, I forgot to bring my business card. A lot of these kind of things are important. You know, as a photographer, you're constantly marketing yourself and your brand, and you need to be prepared with materials. And your website is your virtual business card. The very first thing people are going to do when they look you up is they're going to type your name into Google. If nothing comes up except for a Facebook page where you're drunk with your friends, they're not really going to be that impressed to want to hire you. Unless you're a known entity, of course. So keep that in mind. Anyway, that's pretty much it for now. I just wanted to have a little talk about what you're worth and, you know, whether or not to work for free. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll see you soon.